Chinyu whispered to her, "Change into this." She held out a blue swimsuit. Sister Evi froze. Her heart raced. I can't," she stammered. Zara laughed softly. "Don't worry, sister. Everyone wears it. You'll fit right in." Ego, who had gone before, had shown her the way. Sister Evi remembered her father's bills, the fear, the helplessness. Slowly, shaking, she changed. When she returned, the music started. Lights flashed. The mansion smelled of perfume, cold air, and food. Jimmy nodded at her. "Dance," he said simply. The white mansion. The mansion did not look like a house. It looked like a secret. Everything inside it was white, too white. White marble floors that reflected light like water, white curtains that breathed softly with the air conditioner, white sofas arranged with the careful pride of a man who wanted nothing out of place. Even the walls seemed to glow, as if the house itself was watching. Music floated through the living room, slow, seductive, heavy with bass. At the center of it all, Chinyu and Zara, both barely 20, danced. Their movements were confident, playful, practiced. Bare feet slid across the cold marble as they laughed and twirled in matching blue swimming trunks, their skin glowing under the chandelier's soft light. Chinyu flipped her hair back and laughed loudly. "Zara, you're dancing like you're in a music video," she teased. Zara laughed back, spinning. "A beg, if person no enjoy life, wet and remain." On the white leather sofa, a few steps away, sat Jimmy. He was calm. Too calm. At 35, his bald head shone faintly under the light. His beard was full, neatly trimmed, giving him the look of a man who knew exactly who he was. He wore a plain white house coat, loosely tied, and leaned back into the sofa like a king watching entertainment prepared just for him. He said nothing at first. He simply watched. His eyes followed their movements slowly, deliberately, like someone counting money without touching it. The music dipped. Chinyu slowed down. "Uncle Jimmy," she said playfully, breathing a little hard, "we don't tire small o." Jimmy raised one hand gently, signaling the music to continue. "No, no," he said, his voice smooth, almost kind. "Dance. I love watching girls dance." Zara exchanged a quick glance with Chinyu, then shrugged and continued. Their laughter returned, louder this time, echoing off the white walls. Jimmy nodded, satisfied. "You know," he continued, as if they were discussing school or weather, "when you girls go back to campus, I'll give you 100,000 naira each." Chinyu froze for half a second. Zara almost missed a step. 100 each. Chinyu asked, smiling, unsure if she heard correctly. Jimmy smiled back. Each. Their laughter changed tone, lighter, excited. "And," Jimmy added, leaning forward slightly, "for every 2 new girls you bring here on weekends, I'll add 50,000 naira extra." Zara's eyes widened. "Just to dance?" she asked. Jimmy spread his hands. "Just to dance." He leaned back again, completely relaxed. "I work hard," he said casually. "Oil and gas servicing. Stress everywhere. This," he gestured at them, at the music, at the room, "this helps me relax." The girls nodded quickly. Who were they to argue with comfort? Jimmy's voice hardened just a little, "But you know the rules." Chinyu nodded. "Yes, sir. Only swimsuits." "Good," Jimmy said. "I like obedience." The music swelled again. Outside, beyond the tall glass windows, the city lights blinked faintly, unaware of the quiet transaction happening inside the white mansion, where youth was currency, and innocence had already learned how to dance. And as Chinyu and Zara moved to the rhythm, laughing and spinning beneath the chandelier, none of them noticed how the white walls seemed to close in slowly, like a smile that stayed too long. The music slowed down and finally stopped. Chinyu and Zara stood in the middle of the living room, breathing hard, their chests rising and falling as sweat glistened on their skin. The air smelled of perfume, cold air, and money. Jimmy clapped slowly. "Good," he said. "Very good." He reached for the small table beside him and picked up a bottle of champagne. With calm ease, he poured the drink into 2 crystal glasses and stretched his arm toward them. "Come," he said. "You must be tired." They walked over quickly. Zara sat on the edge of the sofa, Chinyu beside her, both holding their glasses carefully as if they were holding something fragile. Jimmy leaned back again. "You girls are young," he said. "You should enjoy life while you can." Chinyu nodded eagerly. "Yes, sir." Jimmy smiled, pleased. "I mean it. When you return to school," he continued, "I'll give you 100,000 naira each. No stress. No stories." Zara's mouth opened slightly. "For real?" Jimmy looked at her. "Do I look like someone who jokes with money?" She shook her head quickly. "No, sir." He nodded. "And if you bring 2 new girls every weekend," he added, "I'll give you extra 50,000 naira. Chinyu laughed softly. "So we can even make more?" Jimmy's eyes stayed on her face. "Very much more." There was a short silence. Zara shifted on the sofa. "Sir, we're not doing anything bad, right?" she asked carefully. Jimmy chuckled, shaking his head. "Bad," he repeated. "You're only dancing. You're not stealing. You're not hurting anyone." He leaned forward slightly, his voice dropping. "Some people work all month and still suffer. I just like to share what I have." The girls exchanged a look. This kind of sharing felt good. Jimmy stood up. "One more thing you should never forget," he said. "In this house, I like things simple. No long clothes. No makeup stress. Just swimsuits." He pointed at them lightly. "Like this." Chinyu nodded immediately. "No problem." Zara hesitated for half a second, then nodded too. Jimmy smiled again, satisfied. "Good girls," he said. "Now finish your drinks and dance some more." The music came back on. As Chinyu and Zara returned to the middle of the room, their bodies moving easily to the sound, excitement buzzed in their chests. School fees, rent, hunger, everything suddenly felt far away. They did not notice how Jimmy watched them closely, not smiling this time, his eyes calm and unreadable. And somewhere between the music and the promise of easy money, a line was crossed, quietly, without noise. Chinyu and Zara returned to campus on Monday morning like people who had traveled to another world and come back changed. Their taxi stopped in front of the hostel. As they stepped down, heads turned. Chinyu wore a fitted dress that hugged her body perfectly. Zara's hair was freshly done, her skin glowing, her phone shining in her hand. Even the way they walked had changed, slow, confident, unbothered. Inside their room, they dropped their bags and burst into laughter. "Zara, did you see the way those girls were looking at us?" Chinyu said, opening her box. "I beg, let them look," Zara replied, spraying perfume into the air. "This life no be suffering competition." From the top bunk, Sister Evi watched quietly. She had returned earlier from morning Massachusetts. Her small Bible lay open beside her pillow, and her rosary beads rested neatly on her bed. She noticed the new bags, the strong perfume, the shiny shoes that had not been there before. She said nothing. Chinyu pulled out clothes one after the other, dresses still smelling of new fabric, shoes wrapped in white paper. "See this one," she said proudly. "Original." Zara laughed. "And this phone. Latest." Sister Evi finally spoke, her voice calm. "Where did all this come from?" Chinyu waved her hand carelessly. "Work." "What work?" Sister Evi asked gently. Zara smiled. "Weekend work." Sister Evi looked at them closely. She remembered the plain clothes they wore before, the way they used to complain about food money and handouts. "This kind of money comes with questions," she said softly. Chinyu rolled her eyes. "Please, sister. Don't start." Zara added, "You and your holy life." They laughed. That evening, Chinyu ordered food from outside. Zara bought drinks. Music played softly in the room. They talked about shopping malls, perfumes, and weekend plans. Sister Evi sat at her desk, reading her notes, trying to focus. But her eyes kept drifting to the new things in the room, the comfort, the ease, the freedom. Later that night, while the others slept, she knelt beside her bed. She whispered her prayers slowly, the way she had been taught in the convent. "Lord, give me strength to walk the straight path. But as she lay down, the smell of perfume still hung in the air, and the laughter of Chinyu and Zara echoed in her mind. And for the first time since she entered the convent, Sister Evi felt something unfamiliar stir in her chest. Not anger. Not pride. But curiosity. Sister Evi did not become a reverend sister by accident. She came from a small town where people knew hunger very well. Her father was a farmer, her mother sold vegetables in the market. Some days, they ate well. Many days, they did not. When Evi was 15, a visiting priest noticed how serious she was in church. She never missed Massachusetts. She stayed behind to clean the altar. She listened more than she spoke. That was how she was introduced to the convent. At the convent, life was simple. There was no noise, no bright clothes, no perfume. The head of the convent, Reverend Mother Agnes, taught them discipline. Silence helps you hear God, Reverend Mother would say. Evi learned the prayers by heart. She woke before dawn for lauds, knelt for morning meditation, and ended each day with Compline. Her rosary never left her pocket. When she gained admission into the university, the convent secured her a scholarship, school fees only. Every month, she received a small stipend meant strictly for feeding. No luxury, Reverend Mother warned her. Your reward is not here. On campus, Sister Evi lived differently. While others rushed to parties, she walked to the chapel. From hostel to classroom, she carried herself with calm dignity. She greeted lecturers respectfully and preached to her classmates when the chance came. Life is more than money, she often said. What you gain wrongly will trouble you later. Some listened. Many laughed. Back in the hostel room, Chinyu and Zara watched her closely. You don't get tired of praying? Zara asked one night. Sister Evi smiled. Prayer is my strength. Chinyu shook her head. This life is hard. Prayer doesn't buy food. Sister Evi did not argue. She only smiled again. At night, while her roommates chatted and laughed, she wrote letters to her convent, updating Reverend Mother about her studies, her struggles, and her faith. She believed suffering was part of the journey. She believed God saw her. What she did not know was that faith, when stretched by hunger and loneliness, could begin to shake, quietly, slowly, like a crack forming under a smooth surface. And that crack had already begun. The difference between Sister Evi and her roommates grew clearer every day. Chinyu and Zara woke up late, rushing to class with loud laughter and phone calls. Sister Evi woke up early, dressed neatly, whispered her prayers, and walked quietly to lectures. One afternoon, Chinyu returned to the room with shopping bags swinging in her hands. Zara. See what I bought, oh, she shouted. Zara jumped down from her bed. Ah. Original. Original, Chinyu said, smiling proudly. They spread the clothes on the bed like trophies. Sister Evi looked up from her book. Chinyu, she said gently, are you sure this kind of money is clean? The room went quiet. Zara laughed first. Here she goes again. Chinyu turned to her. Clean. Sister, money is money. Sister Evi stood up slowly. Not all money brings peace. Some money comes with trouble. Chinyu scoffed. Peace does not pay school fees. Zara added, you think God wants you to suffer like this? Sister Evi's voice remained calm, but her eyes were firm. I would rather manage little than enjoy what will destroy my soul. Chinyu clapped slowly. Saint Evi. Zara joined in. Holy, holy. Our future Reverend Mother. They laughed loudly. Sister Evi felt her chest tighten, but she did not shout. She picked up her rosary instead. I pray for you, she said softly. Chinyu waved her off. I beg, keep your prayers. When hunger catches you, you will understand. That night, Sister Evi knelt beside her bed, her back straight, her hands trembling slightly. Lord, she whispered, give me strength not to envy. But as she lay down, she heard Chinyu and Zara discussing weekend plans, shopping lists, and money they had not yet spent. And for the first time, Sister Evi wondered, not aloud, not in prayer, but quietly, deep inside her heart, what if they were right? Ego sat beside Sister Evi in class because there was nowhere else to sit. That was how it started. The lecture hall was crowded, and Ego arrived late, breathing hard. She dropped her bag gently and gave Sister Evi a shy smile. "Please, I hope I'm not disturbing you," Ego whispered. Sister Evi smiled back. "No problem. Sit." From that day, they became close. Ego was 21, like Sister Evi, and also from a poor home. Her clothes were clean but old. Her shoes were worn at the edges. She listened in class with full attention, writing carefully as if knowledge itself was precious. One afternoon, they sat under a tree after lectures. "I haven't eaten since morning," Ego said quietly. Sister Evi opened her bag and brought out a small wrap of bread. "Take half." They shared it without complaints. They planned their money together, who would photocopy notes, who would buy food, who would wait till tomorrow. Sometimes they laughed at their situation. Sometimes they stayed quiet. "At least we have hope," Ego said once. "Yes," Sister Evi replied. "Hope and God." Unlike Chinyu and Zara, Ego listened when Sister Evi talked about faith. She did not mock her. But hunger has a way of talking louder than advice. One evening, Ego entered the hostel room looking distracted. Chinyu noticed immediately. "You look stressed," Chinyu said. "What's the problem?" Ego hesitated. "I need money for a compulsory textbook." Zara smiled knowingly. "Then follow us this weekend." Ego looked at Sister Evi. Sister Evi shook her head slightly. "Be careful," she said. "Easy things are rarely free." Ego sighed. "I'm tired of borrowing. Just once." That weekend, Ego followed Chinyu and Zara. When she returned, she was not the same. Her hair was freshly done. Her phone was new. Her laughter was louder. Sister Evi watched her closely. Something had shifted. And though Sister Evi did not know it yet, Ego's choice would soon become the bridge that temptation would use to cross into her own life. Ego almost changed her mind at the gate. The car was already waiting, engine running. Chinyu and Zara sat inside, looking relaxed, confident, like people who knew where they were going. "Are you coming or not?" Zara asked. Ego swallowed hard. "I'm coming." The drive was long and quiet. As the city thinned out, Ego pressed her fingers together, whispering small prayers she barely believed would help. When the car stopped, she gasped. The mansion stood tall and bright, glowing under the lights like something from a dream. Everything was white, walls, floors, even the steps leading inside. Inside, the air was cold and sweet-smelling. Jimmy appeared from the sitting room, dressed in a white house coat. His eyes moved slowly over Ego before he smiled. "Welcome," he said calmly. Ego nodded quickly. "Thank you, sir." Chinyu pulled her aside. "There's just one rule," she whispered. "You must wear a swimsuit." Ego froze. "Here." Zara nodded. "That's how it is." Ego hesitated, then slowly changed. When she returned, dressed in blue swimming trunk, like others in red swimming trunks, she felt exposed, but the music started immediately, and there was no time to think. "Dance," Jimmy said gently. She danced. At first, her body was stiff. Then the music softened her. Laughter followed. Food appeared. Champagne glasses clinked. Jimmy watched quietly, nodding. Later, he stood and handed her a small shopping bag. "For your trouble," he said. Ego's hands shook as she collected it. They went shopping that night. Shoes. Clothes. Perfume. On the ride back to campus, Ego stared at her reflection on her phone screen. She barely recognized herself. When she entered the hostel room, Sister Evi looked up. "Welcome back," she said. Ego smiled, but it felt forced. That night, as Ego lay awake, surrounded by new things, her heart beat fast. She had crossed a line. And she knew there was no easy way back. Ego did not sleep well that night. When morning came, she dressed carefully, choosing her best clothes. Her hair was neat. Her perfume filled the room. Sister Evi noticed everything. As they walked back from lectures that afternoon, Sister Evi finally spoke. "Ego," she said gently, "where did all this come from?" Ego stopped walking. "Why are you asking?" Sister Evi faced her. Because I care. That place you went to, it is not good. Ego sighed loudly. You don't understand. Help me understand, Sister Evi said. Ego's voice rose. I was tired of suffering. I needed money. Nobody helped me. Sister Evi shook her head slowly. There are things we must not trade for comfort. Ego laughed bitterly. Comfort. Sister, this life is hard. God does not expect us to die poor. They entered the hostel room. Chinyu and Zara were there, counting money. Zara looked up. Ah, sermon time. Ego turned to Sister Evi. Look at them. They are enjoying life. Are they dead? Sister Evi felt her heart sink. No one deserves to suffer, she said softly. But not everything that shines is good. Ego picked up her bag. I've made my choice. That night, Sister Evi prayed harder than ever. She fasted the next day. She stayed longer in the chapel. Lord, she whispered, take this desire away from me. But when she returned to the hostel and saw Ego laughing, Chinyu shopping online, Zara making weekend plans, something inside her twisted painfully. Her prayers felt heavier. And temptation began to sound less like sin, and more like relief. The call came late at night. Sister Evi's phone vibrated softly on her bed. She frowned, wondering who could be calling at that hour. When she saw her mother's name, her heart skipped. Hello, Mama. Her mother's voice was weak and broken. Evi, your father collapsed this evening. Sister Evi sat up sharply. What happened? They rushed him to the hospital, her mother said. The doctor says we need money. A lot of money. The phone slipped from Sister Evi's hand. The next morning, she packed a small bag and traveled home. The hospital smelled of medicine and fear. Her father lay on the bed, thinner than she remembered, his eyes closed. She held his hand and whispered prayers, tears falling freely. The doctor later pulled her aside. We can treat him, he said. But the bills must be paid. Sister Evi nodded, even though she had nothing. She called the parish. They promised to pray. She called distant relatives. They had no help to give. She returned to school 3 days later, exhausted and empty. That night, she sat alone in the hostel room, staring at the ceiling. Her stipend would not even cover half of the hospital bill. Her prayers came out as tears. Then her eyes drifted to Chinyu's bed, designer shoes. Zara's shelf, new bags. Ego's phone, shining. A thought entered her mind. Soft. Dangerous. She pushed it away and knelt. God, she whispered, I need help. But the room was silent. And silence can be very loud when someone you love is dying. Sister Evi sat on her bed, staring at the small suitcase in front of her. She had never thought she would be here, thinking about going to the White Mansion, thinking about following her roommates, thinking about temptation itself. But her father's hospital bills weighed on her chest like a heavy stone. She woke Chinyu first. Chinyu. I need your help, she said softly, almost shaking. Chinyu's laughed. Of course, Evi. Just this weekend. Yes, Sister Evi whispered. Please. Zara joined the conversation. Ha. You want to see where the real comfort is? I knew one day you would ask. The plan was set. It was Valentine's Day weekend, a time of love, celebration, and indulgence. Sister Evi felt guilty even thinking about it. On the day of departure, she wore a convent dress, keeping some of her identity close, as if fabric could guard her heart. The drive to the mansion was quiet. Chinyu teased her gently, relax, sister. Nothing bad will happen. Just dance and enjoy. Sister Evi's hands tightened on her lap. When the car arrived, Jimmy was waiting in the same White House coat, the same calm smile on his face. He looked at her briefly. Welcome, he said. His voice was smooth. His eyes sharp. Chinyu whispered to her, change into this. She held out a blue swimsuit. Sister Evi froze. Her heart raced. I can't, she stammered. Zara laughed softly. Don't worry, sister. Everyone wears it. You'll fit right in. Ego, who had gone before, had shown her the way. Sister Evi remembered her father's bills, the fear, the helplessness. Slowly, shaking, she changed. When she returned, the music started. Lights flashed. The mansion smelled of perfume, cold air, and food. Jimmy nodded at her. "Dance," he said simply. Her body stiffened at first. She moved awkwardly, her mind filled with prayers and warnings. But then the music softened her, and slowly she danced. Chinyu and Zara laughed beside her, encouraging her, while Jimmy watched silently. Later, she sat at the table as food and champagne were brought to them. Her hands trembled when Jimmy said, 200,000 naira for the night. Ego whispered to her, "It's just for the weekend." Sister Evi nodded, but her heart felt heavy. Tears burned behind her eyes. That night, in the mansion's soft white bed, Sister Evi wept quietly. She whispered to God, "Forgive me. I only did this for my father." And somewhere deep inside, she wondered if forgiveness could ever cover a choice like this. The next morning, Sister Evi woke with a strange feeling. The mansion was quiet. The sunlight spilled across the white marble floor, glinting off the chandelier. The soft sound of the air conditioner hummed around her. She could hear Chinyu and Zara laughing in the kitchen as they prepared breakfast. Her heart felt heavy. The swimsuit she wore the night before clung to her like a reminder. Jimmy appeared with a small smile. "You slept well?" he asked calmly. Sister Evi nodded, but did not speak. He walked over and handed her a thick envelope. "For your trouble," he said. 200,000 naira. Spend wisely." Her hand shook as she took it. She stared at the money, her mind spinning. This was more than she had ever held. More than she would earn in months. Tears pricked her eyes. She thought of her father in the hospital. She thought of her mother and the unpaid bills. Quietly, she whispered a prayer. "Lord, forgive me. This is only for him." The rest of the day passed in a blur. Music played. Food appeared. Champagne flowed. She danced again, awkward at first, then slowly letting herself enjoy the rhythm. For the first time, she felt what it was like to be free, free of worry, free of hunger, free of fear. But freedom felt strange. Wrong. Heavy. That night, lying alone in the soft white bed, she counted the money over and over. Her fingers trembled. "Papa, this is for you," she whispered. She picked up her phone and sent a transfer home. Somehow, the hospital accepted the payment. Her father's treatment began. A small smile appeared on her lips, but it faded quickly. Her heart was still heavy. She had crossed a line, danced in a world she had once only watched, and felt both relief and guilt at the same time. And even as she slept, Sister Evi wondered, how long before she would be tempted again. Days passed. Sister Evi tried to return to her normal life. She prayed longer. She fasted more strictly. She went to the chapel every morning and evening. She whispered novenas and begged God to help her resist temptation. But no matter how hard she prayed, she could not stop thinking about the mansion. She remembered the soft music, the laughter, the lights, the champagne, the food, the money. She remembered how easy it felt to have everything she had ever wanted in one place. Even worse, she saw Ego, Chinyu, and Zara walking around campus, laughing, shopping, showing off their new clothes, and living without worry. At first, Sister Evi told herself, "No. This is wrong. I will not go back." But the thought returned. Quietly. Softly. Like a whisper that grew louder every day. "I only went once, just for my father," she whispered one night. "I can stop now." But she could not stop thinking about it. Then, she began to make small excuses. "I need to pay for books. I need something for food. Just this once." The mansion called her in her dreams. She imagined herself dancing again, wearing the blue swimsuit, feeling free, feeling wanted, feeling rich. One day, she found herself agreeing to go again. Just with Chinyu and Zara. When she returned from that weekend, she was different. Her walk was lighter, her laughter louder, her clothes brighter. She had crossed from necessity into indulgence. Sister Evi, who had once refused every temptation, had begun to enjoy it. And somewhere deep inside, a voice whispered, "The line is gone. There is no going back." Little did she know, her secret world was starting to leak. Videos and rumors were beginning to follow, and her life as she knew it, the life of faith, vows, and scholarships, was quietly slipping away. It started with whispers. Then came the videos. Campus phones lit up everywhere with clips of Sister Evi, dancing, laughing, wearing the blue swimsuit in Jimmy's mansion. Everyone knew now. The secret she had tried to hide was gone. The next day, the convent called. Reverend Mother Agnes's voice was calm but heavy. "Evi, reports have reached us. Your conduct has violated your vows. You are hereby dispensed from your formation. You may no longer call yourself a reverend sister. Your scholarship is withdrawn immediately." Sister Evi's hands shook. The world tilted. She ran to Chinyu and Zara, hoping Jimmy might help, hoping someone would protect her. But Jimmy was nowhere to be found. He had disappeared, leaving no trace, no explanation. Chinyu and Zara avoided her eyes. The laughter was gone. The warmth of the mansion, the excitement, the money, it was all gone. Sister Evi sat alone on her bed, the walls of the hostel suddenly small and cold. She had no money, no scholarship, no friends, no protector. Her father was fine now, thanks to her first trip, but the cost had been too high. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered prayers she barely believed would work. "Lord, forgive me." The lesson was bitter. The temptation that had seemed so easy, so helpful, had left her with nothing. She dropped out of school, broke, and humbled. Her story spread across campus as a cautionary tale. Some whispered, "She was once holy. Now see." And others said quietly, "Even the best intentions can break when hunger meets desire." Sister Evi never returned to the mansion. She never danced again. But every time she closed her eyes, she remembered the lights, the music, the money, and the feeling of crossing a line she could never uncross. And that became her life's warning, a story to tell others about temptation, choices, and the price of easy comfort.